Good?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Hey everybody, my name is Jack Rowe. I am the sales rep for Medtronic GIH. Today we're talking about the Emprint device. Emprint is a microwave ablation generator. It can be used percutaneously, which is primarily used in radiology, also laparoscopically, and in the open environment as well in the OR. This is indicated for livers, lungs, and kidneys, soft tissue lesions. It's contraindicated for cardiac procedures. So basically what we have here is we have a tower with the generator, saline pump, the foot switch, the high efficiency cable here, which we'll go into more detail later. A saline bag, preferably, well actually mandatory, 1,000 milliliter saline bag will need to be used at the very minimum. And then here we have our demo disposable. It has a little wear and tear to it, so I apologize, but it comes in a 15 centimeter antenna, a 20 centimeter antenna, and a 30 centimeter antenna. So in just a couple seconds here, we're gonna go through this setup for the procedure. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the machine. You can see here that Molly is plugged in the tower here, and this turns on the generator. As you can see, also turn on the saline pump. It also operates with the foot pedal as well. One troubleshooting tip: if things are not, it's plugged in, things are not turning on, make sure the switch down here is green. It honestly primarily should never be turned off, but if it is, just make sure that's lit up green. Okay. So let's go over the generator itself. We're going to go left to right here. So left here we have the remote temperature probe. That probe will connect into here. Mizzou primarily does not use that. It's a probe used to monitor the temperature in the ablation zones. I've never seen it used before here, so honestly disregard, but if you were to use it, it'd be right here. This is where you plug in the high efficiency energy cable. Here we have our watts, so our watts determine how powerful is with our ablation. And you can see here I'm toggling the switch, and you see there's 3 dashes on both sides. That means that the cable is not plugged into the antenna. So these will only operate unless both parts, the high efficiency cable here and to the disposable here, once those are connected, then you can turn on the power and time. Speaking of the Celsius sign here, that again operates back to the remote temperature probe to show you what the temperature is in the ablation zone. Here we have our time, so you can do minutes and seconds. We'll go more about that later. This is an indicator for the RTP limit, again, not used. Here we have the reset button. So if you have an error like this right here, see how you have that question mark? That means that it's not detecting a cord unplugged here, so you would see this little error right here. To get rid of any alerts, you can just correct that alert. So in this instance, we would plug in the cable, press reset, and you should be good to go. Lastly, we have our start-stop button, which can start and stop the ablations. And then we have the power button. Also, if we look down here at the foot switch, the physician can also control the start and stop of the ablations by clicking once on the foot switch and once again to stop it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plug this thing in. So, looking at the high efficiency cable here, we see a black triangle. You see a black triangle on here. Common thing that happens is people try to plug in the blue, but the black, always remember to match the colors. So black to black, so we're going to go just gently line these up, press gently, it's going to click just like that. Now it's connected. Okay, so now we're in the case and the physician says, hey Jack, I'm ready for the probe. This is a sterile probe. You're going to open it with gloves sterilely. So pull that back. Here's what it looks like inside. I'm going to take this out. Here we have our actual antenna. We see here each dot represents a different centimeter. So you can see here we have the big dot here is 5, 10, 15, and here's 20. The green zone here is the radiating tip. So the ablation zone starts about halfway down there and goes outwards and forms an actually circle. So that's what's cool about Emprint, is it's a predictable spherical ablation, and we'll get more on that later, but that's has to do with the time and wattage that you use on the generator. So I'm going to put the sheath back on here. So taking this out in the case, first and foremost, you're going to hand the physician the antenna. So I'm going to hand this to Jeff here to hold for me. Next, you're going to go ahead and plug in your saline pump and spike. So if we look down here, we have our spike. We're going to spike this bag. Can I just undo this? Maybe. And then from there, this is a little tangled. We have our saline pump tubing. So you can see on here, I like when I close up, there's little arrows on there. Make sure those arrows are facing the same direction as the arrows on the pump here. So what this does is ensures that there's saline running through the antenna during the procedure when they're ablating to ensure that the antenna stays cool and the ablation zone stays consistent. So once you have that plugged in, you can turn on the pump and you can see it start to circulate saline. This was already used earlier today, so it's a little bit full. But primarily what you would do is you would prime this chamber here. So the blue mark is about halfway full. And you can see if you get really close here, Molly, that saline's already running through there. So the goal is that you have constant saline drip and constant stream through this chamber with no bubbles in the bag itself. Okay, so once that's plugged in correctly over here, again, the dock has the antenna, so once he's ready for power, here's your high efficiency cable. You have a blue triangle here. You have a blue triangle here. Same as before. I'll line up those triangles. Nice and gentle. Click. And if you look at the machine now, we have zeros. So now the doc's going to go ahead and place his antenna, or her antenna, and we're going to make sure we ablate that lesion. Which, again, I was talking about earlier with Emprint, it's cool is that it's a predictable spherical ablation zone. And what that means is we can look at this chart here and determine really almost to a science how big the circle is going to be. So, for instance, if our doc says, hey Jack, we have a 2 centimeter lesion in the liver, it's colorectal mets, and I need a 1 centimeter margin. So, 1 centimeter margin means centimeter on each side of that circle, so that would be 4 centimeters. So you would go to 100 watts, which is primarily used. Find your 4 centimeters here, 100 watts, go down, and that's an 8 minutes and 30-second burn. So what you do is then you would turn this to 100 watts. You want to dial in the seconds first, it's a little easier that way. And then go up to 8 minutes. At that point, the antenna's been placed. Doc says, hey Jack, I'm ready to burn. Press the start button, or he or she clicks the foot pedal, starts the ablation, and then you'll have a countdown, and then you're on your way.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.